Tomas, a millionaire who lives a simple life in the heart of Chicago, sees his routine change when he meets Sophia, an 8-year-old girl paralyzed after a trauma. As he tries to help the girl rediscover her strength, Tomas discovers a new purpose in his own life. But will his support be enough for Sophia to overcome her fears and walk again? A moving story about overcoming unexpected bonds and the strength of companionship. Tomas lived in the heart of Chicago, surrounded by the skyscrapers and the incessant rhythm of the city, but his life was silent, almost withdrawn from the world that buzzed around him. He lived in an elegant but unostentatious apartment in a historic building. Every day, Tomas went for walks through urban parks, always accompanied by Rex, his faithful dog. Despite being a millionaire, he lived simply, enjoying the small pleasures in life, like a coffee on a street corner or the sound of leaves in the wind. It was a cold autumn afternoon when Tomas' routine changed. He was checking some emails on his laptop when a peculiar ad appeared among the usual spam. The text caught our attention: "We are looking for a grandfather for a girl." Intrigued, he read the ad more than once, trying to understand if it was some kind of joke. But something about the request sounded sincere. Hesitant but curious, Tomas picked up the phone and called the number provided. After a few rings, a warm, feminine voice answered. "Hello, my name is Maria. How can I help you?" Tomas explained that he had seen the ad and was curious about what it was about. Maria then explained that she was looking for someone to be part of her daughter, Sofia's, life. The girl had experienced profound trauma and was paralyzed, both physically and emotionally. Maria believed that a father or grandfather figure could help Sophia get back on her feet. Tomas, touched by the story, hesitated for a moment, but felt an internal urge to know more. He scheduled a meeting with Maria for the next day, without knowing how much that decision would change his life. The next day, Tomas woke up early. He was nervous about the scheduled meeting, a feeling he hadn't felt in a long time. He put on his cardigan, put the collar on Rex, and went out for his morning walk, trying to dispel his anxiety. The cool wind hit his face as he thought about what he would say to Maria. Despite his wealth and many experiences, Tomas felt insecure. Being a grandfather figure to a girl he'd never met seemed like a huge responsibility. As he approached the agreed location, a cozy cafe in the city center, he saw a woman sitting at a table next to the window. She looked at the street with a worried expression, but her eyes lit up slightly when she saw him arrive with Rex. Maria was a woman with delicate features, but the weight of responsibilities seemed evident in her face. They shook hands and sat down. Maria began to tell the story of her daughter, Sophia, a girl who used to be full of life until a tragic accident left her paralyzed. As Maria spoke, Tomas felt a deep empathy. The loss of Sophia's grandmother and the subsequent trauma had broken her in a way that not even Maria's love could heal. "I believe that the presence of someone with life experience like yours could make all the difference," said Maria, with a touch of hope in her voice. Tomas listened attentively, while Rex rested at his feet, as if sensing the seriousness of the conversation. When the meeting ended, he knew that this would not be his last meeting with Maria. He felt like his life was about to take a new direction, even though he didn't fully understand how. Tomas arrived home with his mind agitated after his meeting with Maria. He spent the rest of the day reflecting on what he had heard. He felt intrigued and, at the same time, driven by a desire to help Sophia. Even though he lived a comfortable life, he always had the feeling that something was missing, and now, he saw an opportunity to fill that void by helping someone who really needed it. That night, sitting in his armchair, with Rex curled up next to him, Tomas wondered what it would be like to meet Sophia. Maria had described the girl as a sweet and intelligent child, but very withdrawn after the accident. He knew it would be a challenge to gain her trust and help with her recovery. "Am I up to this task?" he wondered. However, something inside him seemed ready to accept the mission. He decided to call Maria and confirm that he would visit the next day. The moment he hung up the phone, an unexpected feeling of anxiety mixed with excitement. He was about to get involved in something much bigger than his own life. Although unsure, Tomas felt that the path forward, although uncertain, was the right one. The next morning, the Chicago sky was cloudy, reflecting Tomas's state of mind. He put Rex on a leash and headed to Maria's luxurious home, located in an elegant part of town. Upon arrival, he was greeted by the housekeeper, who led him to the living room. The atmosphere was cozy and sophisticated, and Rex soon settled into a corner, as if he were used to the place. Tomas was waiting for Maria, but when the door opened, he was surprised by Sofia. She was in her wheelchair, with a shy and curious look. Her dark hair fell to her shoulders, and her eyes, although marked with sadness, had a subtle sparkle. Tomas smiled kindly and introduced himself, but it was Rex who broke the ice. The dog slowly approached Sofia, wagging its tail, as if it knew exactly what to do. Sofia, initially hesitant, reached out and petted Rex, who lay down next to her. The interaction with Rex opened a way for Tomas and Sofia to start a simple conversation. He talked about his love for animals and the long walks he took with his dog through the city's parks. Little by little, Sofia began to smile. "Maybe you can take me to see the parks sometime," she said shyly. Tomas's heart warmed at the possibility of winning the girl's trust. He realized that despite the challenges, that first meeting was a step in the right direction. Tomas's visits to Maria's house became more frequent as the weeks went by. He developed a routine with Sofia, always taking Rex along, which facilitated interaction between the two. Although Sofia was still shy and often withdrawn, Tomas and Rex's constant presence began to create an environment of comfort and security for her. During a sunny afternoon, Tomas decided to take Sofia for a walk through the park, something she had mentioned on their first date. With Maria's help, he put Sofia in an adapted car and, together, they went to Lincoln Park, one of the largest and most beautiful in Chicago. The fresh air and nature around seemed to bring a lightness to Sofia, who looked enchanted at the movement of the trees and the sparkle of the lake. As he pushed his wheelchair along the trail, Tomas began telling stories about his childhood. He talked about how he loved exploring the parks and how, in his youth, Chicago was a different place, but still full of life. Sofia listened attentively, and with each word, she seemed to relax a little more. The bond between them was growing stronger, and Tomas, who had previously questioned his ability to help, now felt a growing sense of purpose. In the following days, Sofia seemed more lively during Tomas's visits. She began to open up more, talking about her life before the accident and how she used to run through the parks with her grandmother, who was now missed so much. Tomas listened patiently, offering words of support and understanding. He didn't try to force deep conversations, but he was always present, creating a safe space for Sofia to express her emotions. A special moment happened on a Sunday afternoon. Sofia, who was normally quiet, asked a question that surprised Tomas. "Have you always been so calm and patient? How do you do that?" He smiled, reflecting for a moment before responding. "Life has taught me to value simple things and to understand that some battles are internal. Sometimes patience is the only path to peace." Sofia was thoughtful about the answer, but seemed to absorb every word. That exchange of experiences was more than a simple conversation, it was the beginning of something deeper, a bond that transcended the difference in age and life experiences. Little by little, Tomas was not only helping Sofia recover, but also discovering something new in himself, the ability to nourish and transform a life with his presence. For Sofia, the world that seemed dark was slowly shining again, and for Tomas, a new light was also emerging in his own life. The weeks passed, and Tomas already felt part of Sofia and Maria's lives. However, despite Sofia's obvious emotional progress, she still could not cope well with the idea of facing physical trauma. Every time they tried to discuss more intense physical therapy sessions, Sofia would change the subject or become visibly uncomfortable. Tomas knew this would be the next big step, but he didn't want to pressure her. One day, during a quiet conversation in their apartment, while Maria was preparing dinner, Sophia looked at Tomas and asked, "Do you think I will ever walk again?" Tomas, realizing the seriousness of the question, sighed deeply. "I believe you can do anything, Sophia. But the first step to any change is believing in yourself." Sophia bit her lip, thoughtfully. "Sometimes I feel like it's impossible," she confessed. Tomas then told about one of his most difficult moments in life, a time when, despite all his financial success, he felt a deep emptiness and couldn't find purpose. It was only when he began dedicating his time to helping others that his life changed. Tomas' words seemed to have some impact on Sophia. Although she didn't give a direct answer, he could feel that she had somehow planted a seed of hope. Sophia's battle was not just physical, she was fighting her own mind, and Tomas knew that would take time. The next morning, Maria arrived with a proposal. She wanted Tomas to accompany Sophia to one of her physiotherapy sessions. She knew her daughter trusted Tomas in a way she didn't trust anyone else. With a calm smile, he accepted the order. When they arrived at the clinic, Sophia seemed nervous, but the presence of Tomas by her side calmed her. The physiotherapist, a kind woman, started with light exercises, but Sophia was tense. Tomas, sitting next to her, encouraged her with simple, gentle words. "Let's take it slow, Sophia. Don't rush. I'm here with you." As the session progressed, Sophia tried to follow the instructions, but the fear was still visible in her eyes. There were moments when he seemed to want to give up, but he always looked at Tomas and saw the patient and calm look he offered him. "You can do it," he repeated, without forcing, without demanding. And little by little, she began to move with more confidence. At the end of the session, despite being exhausted, Sophia smiled for the first time when talking about physiotherapy. "It was hard, but it wasn't as bad as I thought," she said with a tone of relief. Tomas knew that that small step meant a lot. It wasn't just a physical victory, it was an emotional breakthrough. The barrier that once kept her trapped in fear was beginning to weaken, and he knew that with patience and support, she could go further. Over time, Sophia's physiotherapy sessions became part of her routine, and Tomas remained by her side in each one. Although the first few days were difficult, Sophia's determination began to shine. She no longer feared exercise and, little by little, regained confidence in her own body. Conversations with Tomas, full of patience and affection, were fundamental in this process. With each progress, no matter how small, he celebrated with encouraging words, always reminding her that she was not alone. One day, after a particularly challenging session, the physiotherapist suggested that Sophia try taking a few steps with the help of parallel bars. Maria, who normally watched the session from afar, watched anxiously. Tomas, as always, was close, holding Sophia's hand. There was tension in the air, but also silent hope. Sophia looked at the bars, hesitated for a moment, and then, with a deep sigh, placed her hands on them. Her arms shook slightly, but she gathered all her strength and took a step. Just one step. But for everyone in the room, that simple movement was monumental. The look in Tomas's eyes said it all: pride, joy and, above all, confidence that this was just the beginning of a long journey of overcoming. That night, Maria prepared a special dinner to celebrate Sophia's advancement. While Tomas and Sophia sat at the table, Maria appeared with an apple pie, her daughter's favorite sweet. "It's a small celebration, but full of love," she said, smiling. Sophia, who was tired but radiant, silently thanked both her mother and Tomas with a look of gratitude. They ate, talked about simple things, like movies that Sophia liked and Rex's games, who always managed to steal the show with his affectionate way. After dinner, while Maria tidied up the kitchen, Sophia and Tomas sat in the living room, talking. "You know, Tomas," Sophia began, "I really didn't think I could do that today. It was scary, but you made me feel like I could." Tomas smiled, moved. You've always had this strength, Sophia. I just reminded you of what was already inside you. At that moment, Tomas realized something important. Sophia was not only regaining her physical strength, but also her emotional confidence. The fear that had paralyzed her for so long began to disappear, giving way to a new version of herself, more determined, more courageous. And he, in some way, was part of this transformation. He didn't just offer support, I was learning from her too. It was an exchange, a connection that transcended the simple role of grandfather. The weeks passed, and Sophia's progress became even more evident. With each new physiotherapy session, she felt more confident in her movements, and her steps, which were previously hesitant, now came with renewed strength. Tomas, always by her side, marveled at that girl's resilience. He knew she was becoming stronger every day, not just physically but emotionally as well. On a sunny morning, Maria surprised Tomas with some news. The physiotherapist thinks Sophia is ready to try walking without support, just with the help of crutches, she said, visibly moved. For Tomas, those words sounded like a milestone in the journey they had traveled together. He looked at Sophia, who, although nervous, seemed ready to take on this challenge more. On the day scheduled for the big test, Maria, Tomas and the physiotherapist were gathered at the rehabilitation center, closely watching Sophia. She held her crutches tightly, her face determined. The room was silent, and everyone could feel the tension of the moment. Tomas, with his calm smile, took a step forward and, in a soft voice, said, "It doesn't matter how many steps you take, Sophia. The important thing is that you never stop trying." Taking a deep breath, Sophia took her first step with the crutches. There was a brief hesitation, but she held her ground. The second step came soon after, and so, slowly and carefully, Sophia began to walk around the room. Tears of happiness welled up in Maria's eyes, and Tomas felt his heart fill with pride and emotion. Sophia was achieving a victory that many thought impossible. Sophia's transformation was cause for celebration. Maria organized a small party at home to celebrate her daughter's progress. Close friends and family were invited, and the atmosphere was one of pure joy. The house was decorated with balloons and banners, and in the center of the room was Sophia, smiling and proud, leaning on her crutches. Tomas arrived with Rex, who immediately ran to Sophia, wagging his tail excitedly. The relationship between them had become inseparable, and Rex's presence always seemed to bring Sophia comfort. While everyone gathered to congratulate her, Tomas remained further away, silently observing the result of months of dedication and effort. Maria approached Tomas and offered him a glass of juice, with a warm smile. "I can't thank you enough, Tomas. What you did for Sophia, what you did for all of us, was far beyond what I could have imagined. You were the pillar of this entire transformation." Tomas, moved, just shook his head. "I was just there for her. The strength was inside Sophia the whole time. She just needed someone who believed in her as much as she believed in herself." At that moment, Sophia came to them, leaning on her crutches, but walking alone. "Tomas, thank you for everything," she said, her eyes shining. "You gave me something I thought I had lost, hope." He smiled, feeling a deep, silent happiness. "You gave me so much more, Sophia. You showed me what really matters in life." That night was marked by laughter, stories and hugs. Tomas's life, which had previously seemed peaceful but empty, was now filled with something much greater, human connection. And for Sophia, the journey that previously seemed impossible now opened up to new horizons. She still had a long way to go, but with Tomas by her side, she knew she didn't need to face anything else alone.